97% of business owners are stuck at under $3 million. And it's not because they don't care. It's not because they're not a hard worker. It's not because they're willing to, sacrifice something to a certain degree, but it's literally because they just don't have the direction.
They need to embody the characteristics and habits of the people that have accomplished the pinnacles that you want to accomplish.
Even if it was one thing from an 8-hour event, that one thing would help you increase your margin in your business or, give you your life back.
Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners, Evan Ritchie and Cameron Bodden, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of two of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control. Stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
We're coming up on a week since the Tell Me Where to Chip event. And I feel like this is something now that I've experienced it because I'm your partner for Coconut, but the 1% Club and Hype Farm is something that you're doing totally outside of Coconut. Now that I've actually experienced it, my first thought was, I wish that this kind of stuff existed 8.5 years ago, because I really feel like I would have gotten control of my business faster and had been able to scale more cleanly and more profitably. So it's almost been a week. Remind everyone, what was the original thinking? Because you said that you went downstairs and saw the original rough draft.
Yeah.
Why did you start, the idea of even throwing an event?
Well, let's start with the name change. So those of you guys that don't know what's going on, we want to give a recap of Tell Me Where to Chip. Tell Me Where to Chip is an event that we put on for really any business owner, but we targeted people within the 1% Club. And the Tell Me Where to Chip is, I feel like I've told this story a ton, but I'm sure a lot of people are listening that haven't heard it. I talk about how bad you suck at golf.
Okay, there we go. I didn't know where you're going to take this one, okay, now I can
But hey, my compliment is that you can drive the ball 415 yards. That's your record.
Yeah.
And we got sidetracked because we were in such a hurry to leave the event, but I would have bet anyone any amount of money that they can outdrive you. We should do that in the next event.
Yeah.
So anyways, to Tell Me Where to Chip is that anytime we're playing a scramble, you suck. But when I tell you hit the ball right here, for whatever reason, you hit me most of the time. And it's really cool to see. And so when we were thinking about business, we related it to business that most business owners, 97% of business owners are stuck at under $3 million. Yeah. And it's not because they don't care. It's not because they're not a hard worker. It's not because they're willing to, sacrifice something to a certain degree, but it's literally because they just don't have the direction. And so when I came up with this idea of hey, how can we make this an amazing opportunity for business owners, but more importantly, to give back to people within the community, is I wanted to give them a chance to be I wanted to be the Cameron to the Evan, and who you are to me is just hey, if you focus in this area, you'll just have a ton of success. And that's what the Tell Me Where to Chip was all about. And so what we did is that we created this amazing experience. And what's cool is as I look back on it, there's two things that were instrumental in setting up the experience for what I wanted. The first one was the location. We originally were going to have it here. Yeah. And there's nothing this office is beautiful, right? But last minute, I was like, dude, I want to have an elevated experience at a location that has just an amazing backdrop. And so last minute, we planned it at the golf course that I'm a member at, Superstition Mountain. And one of my buddies is Evan keeps calling it Superstition Springs. I'm he doesn't even know he's being funny. He's being,
oh yeah,
he's being that's a dig.
I know exactly.
Superstition
Andrew
Springs.
Andrew Augustiniak DM me and he's it's what I don't even know what it is right now.
I was listen, it's okay, Evan. But
superstitions in it.
Yeah, superstitions in it. Anyways, we had it at Superstition Mountain, which is a really nice golf course, but more importantly, it's at the base of the Superstition Mountains. Yeah. Which is just phenomenal. And the room that we had, the backdrop was the mountains itself, and the hospitality there is just amazing. Yep. Then the second thing is the ice bath experience. And what's really cool about this is, again, last minute, I told my team hey, what are the chances that these guys will let us put an ice bath at the golf course like they're crazy about wearing collared shirts tucked in, let alone a dude like walking around in his bathing suit in an ice bath, right? So they gave the approval to put the ice bath by the locker room. I don't even think you know this story. So originally it was going to be that little patio by the locker room, right? And like 3 days before, I was like, no, that's not it. Like, I got to have my buddy Jeremy from Reconnect come out and guide us through a breathwork session. Let's see if we can move the ice bath to the lawn, which is right behind the driving range. Yep. And so the team, went and negotiated with them, whatever. We got it done. So we have this backdrop of the ice bath on this beautiful lawn at the base of the Superstitions, right behind the driving range. There's this beautiful like pond that, looking at over 18. And as we're getting into the ice bath, the sun's coming up, and we just had a guided session from Jeremy, who got me into ice bathing, who helps you really understand how to control your state of mind in a really high stress situation. And dude, it was one of the coldest ice baths I've ever done, because we waited around for 45 minutes as we waited for everyone else to get in. My toes hurt so freaking bad.
I was doing bad before. Because when he's like, all right, take your shirts off, we're going to go through some breathing. I'm like, okay, we'll put them back on. He's like, nope, we're staying like this. And I'm like, what are Cameron and I going to do? We're going to go last. I felt like there was a brick of ice around my foot. And what I want to highlight that you're being, I won't even say humble about, but I don't think you're really like seeing the connection that I saw because you threw the event. But the Superstition Mountain is a private golf course, and it's very expensive. And so I think that in and of itself was already it added to why the whole thing was so nice. But then too, I feel like you brought Cameron to the event, and everything, a lot of what has made you've made it a part of the experience. Because at the end of the day, what do people need to do to become more successful? They need to embody the characteristics and habits of the people that have accomplished the pinnacles that you want to accomplish. And so you have this Superstition Mountain, what is it called? Like, you're a member there?
Yeah, membership.
And then you also bring this super important aspect of your life, which has been getting into your body, because you've always had like some weird stuff. Like, I think it started with like Bobby Joe. And always had some weird stuff. Well, I just feel like 8 years ago, like you had me go service this lady's house, and she has like trinkets and tassels and like bowls and things like that. And you're like, hey, let her take care of you if if she says she'll take care of you after a cleaning.
Wait, you need to expand on that.
Okay. I was going to leave it a little bit more ambiguous, but she is a massage therapist. She's a massage therapist. She's into the sound bowls and the crystals and things like that. And
not what you get.
I didn't. Guys, it's me, okay? The most vanilla guy you ever know. So,
that's too good, man.
But that was like my first, like, oh, Cameron's into this stuff. And then like you introduced me to the massage therapist at Mountainside Fitness.
Keisha, man. She's the goat.
Okay. And then 3, 4, 5 years ago, you're like, dude, you got to come to this place with me. Because what I love about you is that you experience something really good for you and you immediately want everyone else to experience it, especially if it's miserable. Okay. So I remember you brought a few of us managers out to Reconnect. And it was a terrible experience at the beginning, but it ends well. So Jeremy's there at Reconnect, and I just wanted to quickly share with you because I made a post on it yesterday. I was a little frustrated that you brought the ice bath to the event. And I was already planning on like, I'm just not going to show up until like later. I could use the sleep anyway. But I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to go earlier. I'm going to help. And then I started getting psyched out so much about 10 minutes before the event. I went down to it and I said like, hey, I'm just going to get in right now. And it had nothing to do with no one seeing it. It had everything to do with like, I'm just overthinking this. I just need to get in it. So we wait the 45 minutes. I get in the ice bath. And first I would say that Jeremy's breathing course was phenomenal, his walkthrough. I felt a lot of peace right after. And then I struggled for probably the first minute in the ice bath. I struggled for the first 2.5 minutes, and then we got out. But I had this realization walking to the club after, which is probably about 100 yards away from like where we actually went in.
The hardest walk ever with your toes cold.
Yes. And I stepped on a pebble. I'm like, oh.
That's so funny because right before I was going into the locker room, I'm like, I'm so grateful I haven't stepped on a rock at this point yet.
I stepped on a pebble. I think a little tear came out. But I had the most organic realization. Like it was the whole thing up to that point, and it was this single thought that what is hard to me is the thing that I've been avoiding. So I'm not as like hard as I think I am in terms of like grit and perseverance, because I genuinely enjoy work. I can work for 14 to 18 hours. I have no problem putting my phone down forever on the weekend. In fact, that was probably one of your guys' first like frustrations with me, is like, hey, like I'm family. It's like Saturday, Sunday. You're like, no, you're not. Like you are, but you aren't. But that stuff isn't hard for me. And the thought was, leaving that ice bath, was I need to do more of the thing that I've been avoiding, that is hard, that has the highest ROI, because it will be me actually doing something difficult and telling myself that, like, one, I can do hard things, but two, it's never as difficult as I thought. And so I appreciate you and guys, we're only talking about the first 45 minutes of the event. I think the event was going to start at 8 a.m. You ended up pushing it down to 7 so that everyone could get squeezed in. But leaving there, I had like my takeaway that like, I'm going to get into my body because that's what I avoid. I've never caught that athletic or healthy fire. And I hate to say that, but like I said in my post that like the only way that I could help someone understand it, and Cole and Bowden, like just some healthy guys here at Coconut, I just said, hey, like when you struggle, or you're going through something difficult, like do you dive into prayer and scripture study? No, I do. And it's not like what's better or worse. It's just like my conditioning is that I can jump into that stuff. And for them, it might be hard to like sit and control your thoughts for something like that. And so I left with a commitment to myself to get into my body and then get into better understanding the world of finance a lot more. And so right there, I knew that like the 1%, the Tell Me Where to Chip event was like worth it for me. And so I feel like 45 minutes in, I knew that everybody was going to get locked in, because the locker room where everybody's warming up, it like heightened everyone's senses to be like, oh crap, like what's coming next? And I'm like, I think it's pretty easy from here on out, but we'll find out.
Fire walking at 4. No, that like,
I just had an experience with franchisees, because Cameron and I are still building a national company, and I was able to illustrate to them how important it is to stay on top of their leads, that before they pass it off to a family member, that they need to have the SOPs that we already have. So it's clear, the stats are out there. Franchising is an accelerator for you to not only start a business, but to be able to grow at a pace that just starting a regular company, you just can't do. So if you're interested in franchising with us at Coconut Cleaning and you want to jump into a system that's ready to go, click the link below, and we'd love to talk to you soon.
Within the first 2 hours of the event, I was actually really nervous because we've never done it before. And I just wanted to provide a ton of value for people who, by 9 o'clock, I was like, dude, people got their money's worth. So one, it started with the location, 2, the ice bath. And then about a month ago, I was with my brother-in-law. And my brother-in-law, I think he's like a pretty great speaker. Like he knows how to engage people. He knows how to lock them in. He's a great storyteller. And I was asking him like, dude, how do you become a great storyteller? Like, how do you do it? And he just said, well, like you have to be vulnerable. Like people are engaged with people that are honest. People are engaged with people that aren't up there just like, puffing their chest. And so we started talking about the event and Tell Me Where to Chip. And it was his idea that, hey, Cam, if you're going to really have a huge impact on these people, you got to break down the walls at the beginning to make them feel comfortable. And the only way is by you getting up there and, essentially like pulling down your pants and showing everything. So I did that. No, I'm just
I don't remember that.
So at the beginning, like I told a really vulnerable story about, for me, it's vulnerable, about how I pretty much took Green Mango down to nothing, in year 14 of business. And it was stressful and it was hard and all the things. And then we wanted other people to share where they were at in their business. Mm-hmm. And again, organically, that the location, the ice bath, and then the story just like set the day for an amazing event where no one was there to try and puff up who they were. They were there to get better.
Yep.
And it was really cool. So we covered, it was really hard to try and come up with the right copy because it was like, hey, we're going to sell 7 seats to this event. And we didn't say if you're in 0 to 3 million or 3 to 5 or under 10, like there was people there that were doing $15 million. There was one guy there that was doing $200,000, right?
Yeah.
That was the lowest. And so it was hard to be like, okay, what do we focus on? And we narrowed it down to 7. We narrowed it down to 4 things. But when we talked about KPIs was our first thing, we narrowed it down to 7 KPIs within the business. And the one of the eye openers that came from it was people kept talking about wow, you guys get really granular on each thing.
Yep.
But the one thing was that like you guys track the time at home.
Yep.
And for us, like as a service company, right, the time on location is one of the biggest things that can screw you for bandwidth and route value. And I think it was a huge eye opener for people.
I like the approach that we chose to do. So, if you're listening to this and like, oh, the guys, you talked about KPIs. What I think was really important is that we connected the world of experience that we hear most often, not only from ourselves, but also from entrepreneurs who call us. They're like, man, I just feel like my business is down. I feel like leads are down. I feel like I have to like fight so much more for a customer these days. And so what we did is we got what these guys were experiencing and we asked them, what consistent fires are you putting out? And we correlated those to ignored KPIs that if paid attention to, and, we're going to talk about the other things, but like if you just singularly focus on this KPI, that fire would almost go away, or you would at least know when it's coming. And so I think that's where the power was. It's like, it's not saying definitionally, here's a couple KPIs and here's how you can monitor them. It's what are the things that are literally keeping you from growing. And they're like, I don't know how this has to do with KPIs, but I just feel like I can't keep a technician happy. I'm like, okay, so let's talk about your churn, or let's talk about your culture, and let's talk about the little things you could do, KPIs, to contribute to those things. And so I feel like when I've gone to, I think last year I've said that it was the year I went to the most events, and you don't really leave with takeaways other than like, oh, I feel inspired to do something. But this one was principle being taught, application on how to go about executing, and here's how to look out for it. And then we went from KPIs that led us into the systems and processes.
Yep.
And I feel like that's where we started to like bridge the gap between, okay, I know my KPIs, now what do I do with them?
Yeah, like as systems and processes, we dove into specifically SOPs of what to do with those, right? And like that's where people are like, how do I even create an SOP? What does an SOP look like? So we broke that down for them. And again, it was all healthy dialogue as people were talking, like with real life examples of, hey, this is my constraint. It's like, well, the reason why you're having this guy call you 15 times a day is because like you need to look in the mirror. You haven't trained him properly.
Right.
So go do that. I promise you, he won't call you 15 times a day. And you wanted to share a story with David right now with the van.
Yeah. Because just so you guys contextually are aware, for Coconut, we went through this phase about 4 months ago where we needed new vans. And we looked at our fleet of 25 and we said, we need to take out the machine in the van and we need to put it into a new van. And in my mind, I'm talking to one of the most competent people in regard to like mechanics, operations for fleet. And David said, okay, cool. Well, that was in September. It was January 24th, maybe a week ago. And I just said, hey, like, how did we do with all those flips? And he's like, well, we only got through about 5 or 6 of them. And we still have 6 or more. And I realized right there, I'm like, I didn't follow the only thing that I know what to do. And that is like, if these vans aren't there operating, we're losing $30,000 a month. And I had the KPI of like, we have 25 vans, so Cole hired to it, but I didn't have not even the repercussions. I didn't have the check-in points, and I didn't have like who owns this task solely and who's going to communicate to me with it. And so we took this like KPI understanding, and then we put it into this machine of like, here's the manager, here is how they're going to run this task, here's the, reward in it for them and the company, here's what's at stake if we don't do this. And I literally sat with these guys the other day and I did that. I'm like, so every month that we haven't had that done, we lost $30,000 per van. It was like 6 vans. I'm like, there's $180,000 we lost in the last 3 months just because we didn't have the right channels and we didn't have that clear SOP on how to see a task, who's owning it, here's how you do it, and here's how many times we're going to check in for it.
Well, that's your kind of typical challenge with all businesses, even under $5 million. I mean, look at Coconut, right? Is that they don't know how to quantify how much it's truly costing you.
Yep.
So I actually was on a call this morning with this guy that was like, hey, I get 15 leads a day, but I don't get back to my leads till nighttime when I have time because I'm with clients during the entire day. I was just like, bro, like, so how much is your average ticket? And we did the math. Like, he could sell up to $3,000 a day in leads right now, and he's probably only at like $600 or $700.
And a salesman would cost $200 to $300, $400.
I was like, dude, you could even get away, not even get away, it's how you do it, like low hourly with a high commission tiered system for this person, and that way you're not like taking on this huge overhead and wondering like, I hope they close. Like, you hedge against it.
Yep.
So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're loving what we're talking about, but you're still confused of where to go and how to accomplish it, that's exactly why we started the 1% Club. We go through playbooks that teach you exactly how to do it and when to do it. And so I want you to click the link below that talks about the 1% Club and want you to join with us. Like, it was really rewarding to show people, one, like, this is what it's going to cost you. Two, this is how you put an SOP together. So this, like, the event was awesome because like my mind now is how do we help business owners scale? How do we help them achieve the level that they want to achieve? Some people it's 3 million, some people it's 20 million, whatever it might be. But I have constraints. Like, there's only so much time that I have one-on-one. I truly feel the best thing that you can do is one-on-one coaching. Right. But it's not like something I want to do. So how can I help people the most? Okay, let's get 30 people in a room. But I feel like this may have been as good, if not better, than one-on-one coaching, because what I did is I brought in my team. You were there. Kate was there. Megan was there. Shannon was there. Like, Brett, Brett, like everyone that helped me do the thing. And so not only did you get like basically one-on-one with me, but you got one-on-one with other people that have, better skill sets than I do. Right. And so that was what was so cool. So Megan talked about branding. And there's one thing that she talked about. She said, brand is a promise that your consumer can expect at every interaction. And that was kind of like, that line alone was just something that really was eye-opening for a lot of people. And then Kate got on and talked all about marketing. And one of the things that Kate's done just an amazing job at Coconut and Green Mango and all the companies that we've had is that she understands how to capitalize on your customer base the most. And if that's like upselling them on current promotions that you're doing or retargeting canceled customers, she's just figured that out, and she spent a lot of time talking through it. And I hope that a lot of people had great takeaways to where they can go, implement it within their business.
And highlighting the team, I think that was super important, but also giving them that platform to speak, because when I've gone to events, and again, when we go to these events, and I feel like if you're like me, you're seeing them show up everywhere. Ryan Pineda's got this mastermind, come golf with me around business owners, and that's fine. But what all these events come down to is what you do with the information after you receive it. And a big takeaway for me was on the branding side. And I wrote down, I told Megan this just today, that, the idea of like, hey, our brand is how people are going to remember us. And then the marketing aspect is how people are going to notice us. It's it's the game plan to get people to experience what we're all about. And I wanted to merge those two together because I feel like something that you and Dusty were really known for was that premium aspect at Green Mango. And I cannot tell you how many freaking times I got a call from you guys and you're like, hey, my sister, my mom, my friend said that, the van didn't look very clean. And I'm like, yeah. But it's what people remember you by, and they know that like, hey, this is that standard. And so for me, my takeaways listening to that topic was I need to go back and say, look, what put us in the position to have this much success? And we were built on this premium standard, from the van to how the tech showed up to how they interacted. And I said, hey, I want to do the trainings this week. And I want to get back into that core why of who we are and what we're all about, so that when they follow through on the execution side and get in front of a customer, that we don't forget like how someone's going to feel after we're done. And then are you wanting to go into like the last two topics that we went into? Yeah. So alignment. Where I felt like a lot of people were able to start putting action down, right? Pen to paper was the topic of alignment, because your team strategically put this together. It wasn't like we're going to talk about these things. Everything was connected. And right after brand and marketing, we went into alignment. And what alignment was is it's the idea of, okay, now you understand KPIs and you're building an SOP around every KPI, but how does this all come together? And one of my favorite stories is yours at Green Mango, where you said, hey, look, I have this amazing team. I have this amazing company, and it's net profiting like millions of dollars, but there's more. And if we can accomplish what we call a 7-week rotation, which was just servicing the customers one more time on the year, I know that it would bring in a lot more revenue for the company, and I could probably pay out a lot more money in bonuses. And so the alignment topic allowed us to take all the KPIs that we feel are extremely important and to interject every department's role to support those KPIs. And so any goal that you create as a business owner, you say, I want to hit 10 million this year, 5 million, whatever it is. It's this vertical track of like, okay, well, how many leads would you need? What would your contact close rate and service rate need to be? What does your job average need to be? What's left for you at the end of it in terms of profit? But I feel like the light bulb started to turn on for people where they're like, I don't need to have as many door-to-door guys. I don't need to keep pouring more money into marketing. I need to invest in keeping more people, and I wouldn't have to, continue to buy more customers.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the other thing that kind of stood out to me with alignment is we talked about, okay, you have all this data, like how often do you meet with your team and on what cadence? So we talked about that. And then Josh, who's the plumber, yep. We love Josh. He's been with us for a long time, like friends, yeah. And we've helped him here and there. But he has a Service Titan, which is an amazing CRM, has yep. Tons of data, almost too much data. And as you're pulling up the vertical track and about to train, he's like, do you want to just use mine? You're like, no, just check it. He's like,
can I just use this? I said, no.
Yeah, like let's go through this. And what was interesting that I found is that there's a difference between having all these numbers in the CRM and not just kind of glancing over them once in a while. We helped people say, hey, take these numbers out, put them on this template, and with this template, go put this in front of your team. Yep. And this is how you'll get people aligned of growing in the right direction.
Right.
And that's where it became, again, it's just like, man, this day was so beautiful with how it was like curated, from the ice baths to going to the KPIs to talking about, all the how to create an SOP, the marketing, branding. And then, okay, now that we have all this substance, now we need to go make sure our team, because I made that mistake and I talked about that. It's like, hey, I knew where I wanted to go, but my team didn't know where to go. And so how can they help us go somewhere? How can we get, now that, because I've made that mistake, right? It's like, dude, I know where I want to go, but how is Evan supposed to support me and help me and catch the vision of where I want to go if he doesn't know? Yep. And so that's like the main thing that I was trying to get people is like, now that you understand where, this is how you teach them and show them every single week, month. And, so we talked about company-wide meetings and monthly meetings and one-on-ones and stuff like that. And it was just like really rewarding. And then, dude, we ended with accountability because look, there's so much information out there now. Like if you're listening to this podcast, like, okay, cool. You just listen to this podcast. What are you going to do with this information? And what I didn't want to have happen is people to leave inspired and not go implement anything. I wanted them to leave inspired, but also like, hey, I'm going to go do one, even if it was one thing from an 8-hour event, that one thing would help you increase your margin, your business, or, give you your life back. And so we talked about having an accountability partner, and we linked everybody up together. Yeah, why are you smiling?
I just realized you made a home teaching and visiting teaching assignment. You got all these people holding each other accountable to. I just love that, like when you trace things back to like what makes any organization extremely successful, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And what that looks like in terms of an organization is a supervisor, manager over a certain number of employees. But when you have this kind of coaching group and you do realize that like, hey, I know everyone's going to want to reach out to me, but if you guys just found someone to hold you accountable to hitting goals, like it's going to be the same thing and same impact. And like, I already enjoy the guy that, like I said, hey man, come partner with me. Like we've been texting, and I feel like that's what it all comes down to in ultimately doing anything special. Cause I saw a guy say that, if you are a solo operator, I will always beat you because I'm a team operator. Like I have my, and I think about this all the time, and I know that you guys do too, when either you're a solo operator or you have your team. I hate the idea that it's this like, well, you're bigger, so you kind of lose touch of those little things that you could do as a small business owner, where it's like, I just disagree. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect at it, but I disagree with the notion that because we're bigger, that we can't give that small business feel. Like I would say that's exactly why we should be able to, is that I can have someone whose sole focus is calling every customer.
That's what I was going to say. You just lose touch, and most big business owners don't want to allocate money towards having those little touch points that you had as a single guy.
Correct. But that's where, with this event, and these guys are like, okay, now I'm going to go apply. But it is the idea that, hey, you aren't alone, especially if you have a team. And the irony is if you take this as a business owner, you're going to find your entire company elevate, not this specifically, but you're going to find your entire company elevated because they're taking more ownership of their individual department. And so if you struggle with knowing where to take your company or how to get your company to the next level, it takes the organization of the things that are most important, your KPIs and goals, and then it's the allocation and the delegation of those responsibilities with the one-on-ones, with the weekly check-ins, with the monthlies, that you will find yourself 6 months later at a pinnacle of a goal that you didn't even expect to have, because the whole team is lifting with you. And that's what I think the icing on the cake was for me, was like, I don't utilize my team enough. And I don't, like, sometimes
really?
I'm still.
That was like one of your takeaways?
Yeah.
Dang.
I texted Richard after. I just said, hey man, like I want to share more with you. I want you to see more. And here's the things that,
he's like, please don't.
Yeah. He's like, I said, here's the things I'm going to want you looking for. And so I think for anyone that's like, hey, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to take my business to the next level. It's not that you have to come to a 1% event, but it's like at the very least, you hop into the 1% club.
No, they need to come to the 1%. I'm just kidding.
Of course, but it's like start getting the dose of what the community feels like and the playbooks that we're going through. And then should there be events, which is it quarterly you're hoping for, or biannual?
We haven't. Oh, like the community?
Yeah. No. The
like tell me where to
future
chip?
Events. Yeah, something like that.
We haven't committed. No, okay. Seriously. I think because they're so successful, we'll do more, but we haven't committed to them. They're a lot of work, man. When we look at like the time allocation, and so like a lot of people do the math. Oh, they sold, $5,000 a seat. They had 11 people in there, 22 people total. Like, oh, they killed it. It's like, dude, you know how much time and energy and effort went into that, and our sole focus went into that, and we had to put other things off. It's a lot. And so we're doing like what we're encouraging you guys to do. Hey, where's the greatest opportunity to make an impact on business owners, and what's the best time allocation for us? I think events will be part of it, but I don't know if it'll be like every single month we're doing that.
No, but hear me out. Okay. because this is where I was kind of a little frustrated at the beginning of our brainstorming session, is that I've talked to enough business owners.
We're riffing.
No, I talked to enough. I talked to enough business owners that the route at which you need to, or you're not suffering as much as you think, and the solution to some of your biggest problems is often as simple as just finding the right people. And in the 1% Club, like I've always had you as my partner, but in the 1% Club, like it's turned into this community of people asking each other questions. But here's what is difficult sometimes with entrepreneurs is it's only $300 a month.
Yeah, it's too cheap, man.
Okay. Okay. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm going to keep listening to their podcast and consume information, that's fine. That's great.
Link and subscribe, of course.
But almost don't if you're not going to do anything. But don't if you're not going to do anything with it. Join the 1% Club. Get the actual playbooks on how to execute and get your business to the next level, because that's what I do at Coconut. Is we've built something special here in Arizona. We've franchised it, and now we have our franchisees doing over $1 million a year because they're following the same things that are inside the 1% Club. And so it's that principle of like the ask hole, where it's like, don't be someone that keeps consuming and doing little, like almost unsubscribe. Just go and do more, or join a community that's going to help hold you accountable. Because if you feel like you're alone, or you feel like you've created this team where you're not excited to go in and see your front office person or to see your technicians, because we hear that all the time, like that's on you. And how you can go about changing that is just having a redirection in how you think about your business, how you think about growing and scaling, because none of you want to be solopreneurs. None of you want that. You don't want to just be on a van by yourself. You want someone doing it. Every single person that starts a service business, they want to get it to a point where they can make the money that they want to make and the business is running itself. And that's not as far as you think. It could be as simple as just getting your business to $1 million and then having the right system with the right SOPs and the right people executing on the same boring, mundane things that make a business great. And that will allow you to have the life that you want to live. And it is just as simple as just getting in the room with the right people, which is what I did 8.5 years ago with Cameron. And it's what you could do today for just 3 easy payments.
In closing here, I want to shout out my team, because at the end we gave them away this amazing swag bag.
Yeah.
And well, what's cool is like, again, just I'm like, dude, okay, we're doing a Tell Me Where to Chip event. I want to get a wedge, and I love black Vokey wedges. And so, hey, Tyler, the golf pro, can you get a black Vokey wedge, and can you put our logo on it? So last minute, he threw that together. So we had a black Vokey wedge that we gave to people. And then within the bag, and this is where, shout out Megan and Rad Golf, she went and got a sponsorship to where we got these sick rangefinders that had our logo on them. And then obviously logoed Pro V1 balls with a shirt that I love that talked about, and this was the theme of the day, is trajectory matters. It's all about how you approach a shot or how you approach a business challenge. And so that's what the day was all about. And so, look, we don't know when we're going to do the event next. If and when we do, though, just DM me, say, hey, I want in on the Tell Me Where to Chip. We'll put you on the list and we'll let you know. Because that's what's so special about these, and why I'm hesitant to be like, oh, we're going to throw, 3 of these or 6 of these this year. Like, we want to keep them intimate. I want to keep them to where like we can have people get vulnerable, share experiences, because I want to help them break down those barriers of exactly where to go.
So I don't have Cameron's permission to say this, but if you're watching this and you're not a part of the 1% Club, you guys have a few extra boxes?
What
that you gave at the event?
Yeah, we have a couple. We're doing a giveaway right now. I don't know when this will air, but
this is great. Well, the first 2 people that sign up on the 1%, so you comment on this YouTube video and say, hey, I signed up, we're going to send you the same box that's worth $1,000 to you as just a little thank you for joining the 1%, because that's what Cameron's all about, is reciprocity. So what's the premium mindset all about? Why did we start this in the first place? Is one, we wanted our 250 employees between Green Mango and Coconut to know what we were doing.
It's crazy how it's evolved.
We brought that up. It was the first 7 months of podcast data, unreleased. We put that away in a file cabinet. We don't even know where it's at.
Thank
but
goodness.
The premium mindset was all started around this idea of here are some basic thought processes and frameworks that have got us to make these, $30 million company at Green Mango that Cameron's exited from, and now, coconut cleaning that we're continuing to prove concept with. And it's evolving into something more and more. And all we hope for you guys as you listen and as you continue to chime in, because we are grateful for it, is that you just do something with it. And then you make something special in your own hometown that you're extremely proud of. And we think that it's by abiding by these very set, simple rules on what will allow you to have a more profitable and scaling business. But also when you adhere to these principles, you're going to have a better quality of life, more freedom, and it's as simple as that. But the premium mindset aspect is actually doing it and following through with it and being relentless on making sure that it always comes to pass in your business. And anytime you fall short, you just hop back on it again and you keep going.